The elevator doors slid open on the 47th floor of Sterling Tower, and there he was, Ethan Hale, the golden boy of Hawthorne Investments, his tie askew like a noose half-tied, sweat beading on his forehead despite the autumn chill seeping through the glass walls. He stumbled out, phone clutched in one trembling hand, the other fumbling for his badge as if it were the last shred of his dignity. "Oh God, what have I done?" he whispered to the empty hallway, the words echoing off marble floors polished to a mirror shine, reflecting back a man on the brink of freefall. In the split second before the boardroom clock struck 9, Ethan's thumb had betrayed him. A fat-fingered slip on the CC field, turning a private confession into a corporate apocalypse. The email, titled, "I Can't Pretend Anymore," wasn't meant for the C-suite overlords of Hawthorne. It was for Julian Reyes, the sharp-jawed VP whose late-night strategy sessions had cracked Ethan's armor wide open. Now, every executive from the CEO down to the faceless HR drones had a front-row seat to his soul laid bare. "Julian, every board meeting, every glance across the table, it's been you. Your laugh in the break room, the way you fight for the underdog clients. It's killing me. Meet me tonight? Please." The first reply pinged back before Ethan could even reach his desk. From Beatrice Langford, the iron-fisted CFO. Subject line, "Immediate review." His heart slammed against his ribs like a trapped bird, wings battering for escape, as the office around him buzzed to life. Colleagues sipping coffee, oblivious to the storm he'd unleashed. But Julian was already striding toward him, eyes dark as the Hudson at midnight, a storm cloud in a tailored suit. Ethan's world had always been a careful architecture of straight lines and safer choices, built brick by Midwestern brick in the flatlands of Ohio before he'd traded cornfields for concrete canyons. At 28, he'd clawed his way into Hawthorne Investments on sheer grit, a junior analyst with a knack for spotting undervalued stocks that made the old guard nod approvingly. New York had been his reinvention. Sublet in Brooklyn, runs along the High Line at dawn, and a closet full of Brooks Brothers that hid the softer truths he'd buried deep. Love, for Ethan, was a risk assessment gone wrong, too many variables, too steep a downside. Until Julian. They'd met 2 years back, during a brutal merger crunch that left the office smelling of stale takeout and desperation. Julian Reyes, 32, was the wunderkind VP poached from Silicon Valley, with a resume that read like a tech thriller and a smile that disarmed faster than any pitch deck. Cuban-American roots laced his voice with a warm lilt, and his office door was always cracked open, inviting the stragglers like Ethan to linger over post-mortem coffees. "You're too good at this doom-scrolling," Julian had teased once, tossing a stress ball across the desk. "What if we bet on the upside for once?" Ethan's laugh had been genuine, a rare crack in his facade, and from there, it snowballed. Shared cabs in the rain, texts about bad movies, the brush of knuckles over a shared tablet that lingered a beat too long. But Ethan had rules. No entanglements. No emails at 2 a.m. confessing how Julian's cologne lingered on conference room chairs like a ghost. Work was his anchor, the board his jury, conservative titans who'd built empires on blue-chip stability, not rainbow flags. Hawthorne wasn't hostile, not overtly. The diversity training videos played on loop, but whispers followed the single guy who skipped the holiday mixers. Ethan had seen it. The sidelong glances at the Pride Parade float in last June's float, the HR memo buried in fine print about professional conduct. He drafted the email on a whim last night, after too much bourbon and a playlist of Springsteen ballads, intending to delete it by morning. Dawn came, resolve crumbled, and send became his undoing. By 10, the boardroom was a coliseum. CEO Harlan Whitaker, a silver fox with a drawl like aged bourbon, steepled his fingers at the head of the table, his gaze pinning Ethan like a specimen slide. Beatrice flanked him, her pearls a noose of judgment, while the rest, VPs, directors, the ghost of legal in absentia, shifted in ergonomic chairs, the air thick with unspoken verdicts. Julian sat across, his usual poise fractured. A muscle ticked in his jaw, the only tell in his poker face. "Ethan," Harlan began, voice gravel over silk, "we've all read your correspondence. Bold, I'll give you that, but this firm runs on trust, discretion. You understand the position you're in. Ethan's throat closed like a vault. He nodded, words evaporating. The room spun. Projections of revenue charts mocked him from the walls, pie graphs of market shares that suddenly felt like slices of his life up for auction. Betrayal? It wasn't just the email. It was the exposure. The raw nerve of his heart flayed for scrutiny. He'd betrayed himself, first and fiercest. Julian cleared his throat, the sound a lifeline tossed into choppy waters. Harlan, if I may, this was clearly a misfire. Ethan's one of our best. No harm done if we handle it right. His eyes met Ethan's. A flicker of something unreadable, pity, anger, or the echo of that almost kiss at the office holiday party, when mulled wine and mistletoe had conspired against them. Beatrice's laugh was a shard of ice. Misadventure or not, it raises questions. Personal entanglements in the workplace? We have policies. She slid a folder across the table, its tab screaming, Conduct Review. Inside, printouts of the email, highlighted in venomous yellow, footnotes on fraternization risks, and reputational exposure. The meeting dragged into noon, a dissection that left Ethan hollowed out. Apologies tumbled from his lips, promises to seek counseling. Whatever that meant in this sterile lexicon. Harlan adjourned with a paternal pat. Shape up, son. We believe in second chances. But the damage was etched, a scar across his career arc. As the room emptied, Julian lingered, door clicking shut behind the last suit. You idiot, Julian said. But there was no heat in it, only a weary affection that twisted the knife deeper. He leaned against the table, arms crossed, the city skyline framing him like a portrait in turmoil. Why now? Why like this? Ethan's knees buckled. He sank into a chair, head in hands. I don't know. It was supposed to be private. You. Just you. The confession hung, fragile as fog off the East River. Julian exhaled, bridging the gap in 2 strides. His hand on Ethan's shoulder burned through wool, grounding electric. It's not the end, Ethan. But Christ, the board? They're sharks in loafers. And me. I can't just. Can't what? Ethan's voice cracked, eyes lifting to search Julian's face. There it was, the conflict, the mirror of his own. Julian's life was a tighter cage. Family expectations from Miami. A career ladder greased with alliances that didn't bend for boys who loved boys. Tell me you feel it too. That this wasn't nothing. Julian's thumb traced Ethan's collarbone. A ghost of touch that spoke volumes. It's everything. But everything has a cost here. He pulled back, the space between them a chasm widening by the second. Give me time. Please. Time. Ethan nodded. But as Julian slipped out, the word tasted like ash. The office hummed on, indifferent, while Ethan's phone lit with notifications. Concerned texts from friends, a curt, we need to talk, from his sister back home. He ghosted them all, retreating to the rooftop terrace where wind whipped off the harbor, carrying salt and regret. That night, under a bruised sky, Ethan waited at the Anchor, a dim-lit bar in Soho where exposed brick whispered secrets to vinyl jazz. He'd picked it for the anonymity, booths like confessionals, bartenders who didn't pry. Julian arrived late, coat dusted with drizzle, his presence parting the crowd like a tide. They ordered whiskeys neat, the amber liquid a buffer against the unsaid. I'm sorry, Ethan started, but Julian waved it off, leaning in close enough for Ethan to catch the faint cedar of his aftershave. Don't. Just be here. Their knees knocked under the table, deliberate now, a Morse code of need. Story spilled. Julian's first crush on a debate club rival in high school. The sting of his father's disappointed silence when the truth leaked. Ethan's turn. The farm boy shame, the college hookups that fizzled into friendships, the loneliness of city lights that never quite warmed. By the second round, laughter edged in, tentative as dawn. Julian's fingers laced with Ethan's across the scarred wood. A vow in the squeeze. We'll figure it out, he murmured, lips brushing knuckles. You and me against the boardroom bastards. They walked out into the rain-slick streets, shoulders brushing. The city a blur of neon and possibility. At Ethan's stoop in Brooklyn, the kiss happened, Slow, inevitable, tasting of whiskey and what-ifs. Julian's hands framed Ethan's face, thumbs wiping rain from cheeks, and for a stolen hour, the world narrowed to this. Two men stealing breath from the night. But dawn brought the backlash. Monday's water cooler was a minefield. Whispers like shrapnel, colleagues averting eyes or overcompensating with forced cheer. Beatrice summoned Ethan to her office, a glass eyrie overlooking the fray. "Leverage, dear boy," she purred, sliding a revised org chart his way. His name, demoted to senior associate. A lateral slide into obscurity. Consider it protective custody. Wouldn't want distractions derailing your potential. Distractions. The word curdled. Julian cornered him in the copy room later, voice low. "She's gunning for you. Harlan's letting her run point. Thinks it'll teach resilience." His fist clenched around a ream of paper, knuckles white. "Fight it. File a grievance." Ethan shook his head, the fight leaching out like ink in water. "And say what? That I fell for the guy who signs my reviews? It's betrayal enough that I dragged you into this." The email had been his grenade. Now shrapnel embedded in them both. The weeks blurred into a siege. Projects rerouted. Meetings where Ethan's input evaporated mid-sentence. Julian grew distant, alibis of client dinners and travel prep stacking like walls. Ethan drowned in spreadsheets, the glow of his monitor a cold companion, until one night, scrolling LinkedIn over cold pizza, he saw it. Julian's profile updated, excited for new horizons at Apex Capital. Betrayal landed like a sucker punch, breath-stealing. Apex? The rival firm that poached talent like wolves at a kill. No heads up, no goodbye, just a ghosted draft in their shared drive. A half-finished pitch Ethan had slaved over. Now Julian's golden ticket out. He confronted him in the parking garage, rain sheeting off the concrete like tears. "You're leaving? After everything?" Julian's face crumpled. Umbrella forgotten. "It's not Ethan, listen. Beatrice cornered me. Said if I stayed, they'd bury you. Transfer, demotion, or worse. This way I go, you stay, we wait it out." "Wait." Ethan's laugh was bitter, echoing off pillars. "You sold us out for a corner office? My heart's in their inboxes and you're running." "It's not betrayal," Julian pleaded, stepping close, hands outstretched. "It's survival. For us." But survival tasted like surrender. Ethan turned away, the slap of his shoes on wet pavement drowning Julian's calls. Back in his apartment, walls closing in, he poured a drink and drafted the resignation. Polite, professional, a white flag to the war he'd started. The climax shattered on a Thursday, board meeting redux. Harlan called an all-hands intervention. The room packed tighter than a subway rush. Ethan stood at the podium, script trembling in his grip. Mea culpa, lessons learned, plea for grace. Midway, the door banged open. Julian, drenched from a cab sprint, eyes wild. "Stop!" he barked, voice slicing the hush. "This isn't on him. It's on us, all of us." He jabbed a finger at Beatrice, then Harlan. "You preach innovation, but choke anything that doesn't fit your mold." Ethan's email? It was brave, raw. "More human than this shark tank you've built." Gasps rippled. Beatrice rose, fury etching lines. "Mr. Reyes, your contract." "Screw the contract." Julian turned to Ethan, the room fading. "I love you, you fool." From the first bad coffee joke. "And I'm not leaving without fighting for this." The confession detonated, cheers and murmurs colliding like thunder. Harlan's face softened, a rare thaw. "Son," he said quietly, "perhaps we've been too rigid." In the fallout, bridges mended crookedly. Ethan stayed, promoted sideways to a role with autonomy. Julian jumped ship, but not alone, pulling strings for Ethan's side gigs at Apex. Betrayal's sting faded to scar, a reminder of fragility. They built slow. Weekends in the Catskills, hands intertwined on hikes where leaves turned gold like hope renewed. 1 year on, under the same bruised sky, Ethan emailed Julian, not the board, never again. "Marry me?" Simple, sure. Julian's reply. A photo, ring glinting on his finger, captioned yes, and CC the world. In the end, love wasn't a mistake but a map. Twisted roads through corporate thorns, leading to a humanism fierce and unyielding. Two men, hands clasped, rewriting the skyline one heartbeat at a time. The wedding was a quiet rebellion, held in a brownstone garden in Park Slope where ivy clung to brick like old lovers, and fairy lights strung across pergolas mimicked stars undimmed by city haze. Ethan adjusted his bow tie in the warped mirror of the powder room, heart a drumbeat against his ribs. Not the terror of that fateful email, but a deeper rhythm, the pulse of permanence. Outside, laughter filtered through. Their circle, a motley crew of ex-colleagues turned allies, Julian's abuelita from Miami fussing over the paella, Ethan's sister snapping candids with a vintage Leica. "You look like you're about to pitch quantum computing to aliens," teased Marcus, best man and Ethan's Brooklyn running buddy, clapping his shoulder. Marcus, with his beard like a lumberjack's and a heart softer than sourdough, had been the first to know. Back when the email fiasco hit the fan, he'd shown up with tacos and tequila, declaring, "Love's not a liability, it's the dividend." Ethan grinned, the mirror reflecting a man unbowed. Feels like that merger all over again. High stakes, no exit clause. The ceremony unfolded under a canopy of dogwood blooms, petals drifting like confetti from heaven's afterparty. Julian waited at the arch, suit midnight blue to match his eyes, a single gardenia in his lapel nodding to his mother's garden back home. Vows were handwritten, voices steady. Ethan's promise to choose you every morning, mistake or not. Drawing chuckles, Julian's countered with, to fight the boards and the doubts, side by side. His accent wrapping the words in velvet. As rings slid home, simple platinum bands etched with coordinates of that Soho bar. The kiss sealed it, soft and sure, met with whoops that scattered pigeons from the eaves. The reception spilled into twilight, tables laden with empanadas and craft IPAs. A playlist blending Billie Holiday with Bad Bunny. Ethan stole Julian away to the fire escape. City hum below like a lullaby. "Regrets," Julian murmured, forehead to Ethan's, thumb tracing the new weight on his finger. "Only that it took an email Armageddon." Ethan's laugh bubbled up, free. "But hey, drama's our love language." Life post-vows was a mosaic of ordinary miracles. They upgraded to a 2-bedroom in Cobble Hill, walls painted sage to muffle the subway rumble, shelves groaning under finance tomes and dog-eared Lorca. Mornings meant coffee black for Ethan, con leche for Julian, shared over the Times crossword, clues debated like market trends. Evenings, runs along the promenade, hands swinging loose, the Statue of Liberty winking across the water as if in on the secret. Work reshaped too. Hawthorne under Harlan's watchful eye inched toward inclusivity. A GSA chapter for employees, Beatrice sidelined to advisory after a diversity audit exposed her barbs. Ethan thrived in his hybrid role, consulting for startups while lecturing at NYU on ethical investing. Because numbers lie, but people don't, he'd quip, Julian in the back row, proud smirk intact. Apex courted Julian aggressively, but he stayed put, poaching ethically, building a team that valued heart over hustle. Yet scars itched. 6 months in, a client dinner unearthed ghosts. Harlan, retired but meddlesome, cornered Julian with a Scotch slurred. "You boys settling in? No more. Emails, eh." The laugh was affable but the edge cut. Julian's grip tightened under the table, Ethan's foot nudging reassurance. Later, in the cab, Julian vented, "It's progress, but damn, the footnotes. Always the asterisks." Ethan pulled him close, cab sway a cradle. "Asterisks are where the story lives. Ours included." The first real test came unbidden. A whisper campaign from Beatrice's loyalists. Anonymous tips to HR about nepotism in Ethan's promotions, laced with barbs about personal favors. It peaked at a quarterly review, panel droning metrics while side eyes lingered. Ethan presented flawlessly, data dancing like fireflies, but the air crackled with subtext. Post-meeting, Julian found him in the stairwell, breaths ragged from the climb. "They're testing us. Don't let them win." Ethan's jaw set, fire kindling. I'm done hiding. Let's call it out. They did, jointly. A memo to the board co-signed, framing the harassment as legacy bias, backed by stats on queer retention in finance. Harlan mediated, his drawl turning stern. Enough. We've evolved or we're dinosaurs. Reprimands flew. The whisperers scattered. But victory's afterglow dimmed when Julian's phone buzzed one autumn eve. His father, voice crackling from Florida. "Me, Joe, the pictures." "Your mother cried." The wedding snaps had leaked online, courtesy of a gawking guest, splashed across a finance blog's power couples sidebar. Not malice, but exposure anew, family fault lines quaking. Julian paced their kitchen, linoleum cool under bare feet. He says he's proud, but it's conditional. Always they but. Ethan rose from the table, arms encircling from behind. Then we rewrite the conditions. Invite them up. Show them the man, not the label. The visit was a tightrope. Abuelita's hugs fierce, Era's con pollo bridging gaps. But Papi's silence is heavy as humidity. Over backyard beers, Ethan shared Ohio tales. His own coming out over Thanksgiving turkey. The relief of his mom's quiet, "I knew," Bubba. Julian bridged with stories of little Havana block parties. Love woven into salsa steps. By departure, Papi's handshake lingered, eyes damp. "You make him happy. That's enough." Healing rippled outward. Ethan volunteered at the Ali Forney Center, tutoring queer youth on resumes. Julian joining for game nights where laughter drowned old pains. Their love deepened in layers. Lazy Sundays with the New Yorker, debates on policy over pad thai. The quiet thrill of Julian's head on Ethan's chest, heartbeat a metronome to dreams. Yet drama shadowed as it does. A headhunter lured Ethan with Silicon Valley whispers, equity stakes, rainbow-washed campuses. "Think bigger," they cooed. Julian encouraged, but nights grew taut, fears unspoken. Would distance dilute them? The crossroads crystallized at a gala, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. Amid schmoozes, a venture capitalist sidled up, card slick as sin. "We need your edge, Hale, and Rhea's duo act." The offer dangled, a poisoned apple. Homebound, wine-loosening tongues, Ethan confessed. "It's tempting, but us here, this is home." Julian's smile broke slow, relieved. "Then stay. Build with me. Not for them, for us." They did, co-founding Rhea's Hale Advisors, boutique firm for ethical portfolios, clients from nonprofits to queer-owned startups. The launch party buzzed in a loft with skyline views, toasts to mistakes that make magic. Beatrice even sent flowers, thorns clipped, a white flag. As snow dusted the bridges that winter, Ethan traced patterns on fogged windows, Julian's warmth at his back. "One click changed everything," he murmured. Julian nuzzled his neck. "And I'd click it again." Their story, once a scandal spark, burned steady now. A humanism etched in emails unsent, loves unbetrayed, hearts aligned against the board's long shadow. Spring unfurled in Brooklyn like a secret kept too long, cherry blossoms rioting pink against brownstone stoops, the air electric with thaw. Rhea's Hale Advisors hit its stride. First-year revenue a quiet triumph, clients drawn to the firm's ethos. Invest in what lifts, not what levels. Ethan helmed client relations, his Midwestern earnestness a balm to jaded whales. Julian quarterbacked strategy, his vision carving niches in green tech and social impact funds. Their office, a converted warehouse in Dumbo, hummed with millennials coding dashboards and baristas brewing fair trade. But beneath the bloom, fissures formed. Ethan's wanderlust nagged, a pull toward the heartland, where his mom's health faltered, Alice creeping like ivy over once strong limbs. Calls home grew frequent, voicemails laced with "miss you," "kiddo," and updates on his niece's soccer goals. Julian noticed the late-night scrolls on farm listings not quite hidden. "You're drifting," he said one evening, plates of takeout Thai cooling untouched. Rain pattered the loft skylight, a Morse code of unease. Ethan set down his fork, guilt a stone in his gut. Mom's place is too much for Dad alone. And us kids? A life here, it's perfect, but roots. Julian's eyes shadowed, the vulnerability he'd armored since the email war's cracking. Roots don't have to mean ripping up ours. We could split time, a cabin upstate. The compromise landed soft, but doubt lingered like humidity. They test drove it, weekends in the Hudson Valley, a fixer-upper with views of the Palisades. Hammers swung, paint splashed, blisters bonding them closer. Yet Ethan's dreams whispered louder. Fireflies over fields. The simplicity he'd traded for skyline ambition. Conflict crested at a family reunion. Ohio-bound by Amtrak, Julian's first plunge into Hale Heartland. The farmstead sprawled under July sun, silos sentinel to summers past. Ethan's clan enveloped them. Sister Lila with her whirlwind hugs, Dad's gruff, good to meet Cha. Niece Ellie tugging Julian to the tire swing. Barbecue smoke wreathed stories. Tractors and tornadoes, first loves and losses. Until dusk, when beers loosened the lore. You're brave, son, Dad murmured to Ethan by the fire pit, embers glowing like confessions. Took guts, that life in the city. And him solid. Solid as they come. Ethan's throat tightened, Julian across the flames, strumming guitar with Ellie, his laugh carrying on cricket chorus. But Julian confessed later, in the guest room's creak. It's beautiful, Ethan. Real. But I feel adrift here, like the boardroom all over, exposed out of my depth. The words stung, a betrayal of sorts. Not of love, but of the seamless us they'd forged. Back in Brooklyn, arguments simmered. Ethan's pleas for more visits. Julian's counter of stability here. Sleepless nights bred silences, the bed a continent. Climax brewed in autumn's amber, a client crisis at Reyes Hale. A fund implosion tied to a partner's shady ties. Headlines screaming, ethical advisors' ethics? Reporters camped the stoop, microphones thrusting like accusations. Ethan fielded the fire, pressers polished to deflection. But Julian unraveled. Nights pacing, scotch his crutch, the wunderkind's shine tarnished. It's my fault, he admitted one storm-lashed evening, thunder rumbling like judgment. I pushed too hard, trusted wrong. Like with us. Rushing in, damn the risks. Ethan knelt before him, hands cupping stubble-rough cheeks. No, we built this, together, and we'll rebuild. But the strain snapped a thread. Julian, hollow-eyed, booked a solo flight to Miami. Space, he said, to remember why. The week alone was purgatory. Ethan wandered the loft, ghosts in every corner. Julian's mug on the counter, scuffed from too many late nights. The shared desk littered with post-its. By limes, love you idiot, calls went to voicemail, texts unread. Panic clawed, betrayal's echo. The fear that one mistake's ripple had eroded their foundation. Desperation drove him south. Rental car hugging I-95, palms blurring into twilight. Miami's heat hit like a slap, salt air thick with memory. He found Julian at a beachside cantina, waves crashing judgment. A lone cerveza sweating on the zinc bar. You followed, Julian said, no surprise, only weariness. Tracked your phone. Desperate measures. Ethan slid onto the stool, ordering two more. Don't run. Not from this. Julian's gaze drifted to the horizon. Foam-laced surf a mirror to turmoil. I almost did. Thought space would clarify career, family, us. But it's you, Ethan. Always you. The email? It woke me. Showed me life's too short for safe plays. Tears mingled with sea spray as they clasped hands over scarred wood. Then come home, Ethan whispered. We'll hybrid it, farm co-op for impact investing, city base for the grind. Roots and wings. Dawn broke as they drove north, windows down, reggaeton pulsing like pulse. Back in the loft, apologies wove into lovemaking. Tender, reaffirming, bodies mapping forgiveness. The crisis resolved. Partner ousted. Funds salvaged through transparent audits. Headlines shifting to Reyes Hale's redemption. Winter brought balance. Ohio holidays with a van loaded for Lila's brood. Julian charming with conch fritters and stories of Cuban Christmases. The upstate cabin became haven. Renovations revealing a root cellar perfect for wine and whispers. Ethan's mom, frail but fierce, pulled Julian aside one snowy eve. He lights up for you. Don't let the world dim that. Humanism bloomed in small acts. Mentoring at Ali Forney, now with farm-to-table workshops. Julian's abuelita visiting, her rosary beads clicking approval over apple pie. Their love tested, tempered into alloy, stronger for the bends. One spring equinox under Dogwood's reborn, Ethan proposed expansion. A branch in Columbus, bridging coasts. Julian's yes was a kiss, fierce and forward. In the quiet after, tracing constellations on ceiling plaster, Ethan murmured, "No more mistakes?" Julian chuckled, low. "Only the kind that make us." Their tale, once typed in haste, scrolled eternal. A testament to hearts misdirected yet true, betrayals burned to ash, emotions the ink of endurance. Years layered like sedimentary rock, each stratum a story etched in time's patient hand. Reyes Hale grew roots deep, Columbus Outpost thriving on Midwest renewables, Dumbo HQ a hub for fintech fellows. Ethan and Julian, now silver-threaded at temples, navigated midlife's currents. Ellie's college apps, Lila's divorce navigated over video calls, Abuelita's quiet passing mourned with marigolds on the mantle. Conflict revisited in guises subtle. A bored, ironic echo, pressuring for scale, venture vultures circling with buyout bait. Julian, ever the strategist, sparred in suits starched crisp. Ethan, the humanist, pushed back. "We're not Hawthorne 2.0. Soul over spreadsheets." The boardroom clash peaked under fluorescence harsh as interrogations. Proxies droning valuations while tension crackled. Julian's pitch vision unyielding, landed like a gavel. "We stay indie, or we fold our values." Votes teetered. Ethan's quiet addendum tipped it. Tales of clients uplifted. Lives leveraged for good. Victory tasted bittersweet. A reminder of that first email's fallout. Power's illusion. Heart's quiet coup. Betrayal's specter stirred anew, personal this time. A junior analyst, wide-eyed and ambitious, confessed a crush on Julian during a mentorship mixer. Harmless flirt, but whispers flew, old wounds reopening. Ethan confronted over diner pie, fluorescent buzz a confessor. "It's nothing," Julian insisted, pie crust crumbling under fork. "Echoes of us back when." "But it stings," Ethan admitted, voice raw. "Like I'm the mistake that lingers." Julian's hand covered his, steady. "You're the rewrite, the redemption." Therapy followed, couple sessions in a sunlit office overlooking the Gowanus, unpacking crates of carried shame. Words unearthed. Julian's fear of abandonment, Cuban machismo's ghost, Ethan's perfectionism, Ohio stoicism's yoke. Vulnerability bonded deeper, dates reclaiming spark, rooftop picnics, vinyl hunts in the village. Climax crested in crisis profound. Ethan's diagnosis, prostate vigilant but shadowed, a biopsy's weight like limbo's antechamber. Hospital white stark, Julian's vigil unyielding. Coffee runs, handholds through scans. "We're fighters," he whispered in the dim ward. Monitors beeping morse of mortality. Results clean, but the scare reframed. Legacy loomed. They founded the Hale Reyes Scholarship, queer youth in finance, first cohort toasting in the cabin's glow. Mom's passing that fall was gentle, hospice gardenias scenting goodbyes. Julian's eulogy wove her into their narrative. A woman who planted loves that outgrew fences. Humanism's arc bent toward mentorship. Guest lectures at NYU, panels on love in the ledger, where Ethan's email origin story drew laughs, then nods. "Mistakes aren't endpoints," he'd say, Julian's arm a punctuation. "They're pivots." Retirement whispered in 60s turn. Upstate full-time, Brooklyn pied a terra for city pulses. The cabin evolved, solar panels, apiary buzzing gold. A library nook for grands from Ellie's brood. Mornings. Coffee on the porch, birdsong scoring crosswords. Evenings. Fireside, Julian's head on Ethan's lap, pages of Garcia Marquez shared aloud. One anniversary, under harvest moon fat as forgiveness, Ethan unearthed the old laptop, dusty relic from the tower days. The email draft lingered, unsent ghosts. Read it. Julian teased, wineglass tilting. Ethan did, voice steady. Words of longing, now fulfilled. Laughter mingled with tears, the click of delete a ceremony. In twilight's hush, their love stood sentinel. Dramatic in tempests weathered, thrilling in risks embraced, emotional in depths plumbed, romantic in glances eternal, humanistic in ripples sent. A gay odyssey across American expanse, from boardroom blunder to hearth's quiet triumph. Hearts, once misplaced, found home. In each other, unerring.